Hey everyone. If you love a good story that challenges expectations and finds love in the most unexpected places, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments below where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always exciting to see who's joining us from around the world. The chef, the scullery maid, and the secret. The steam from the hot water enveloped Eleanor Reed like a second skin. Her fingers, red and wrinkled, moved deftly among the French porcelain plates that cost more than her monthly rent. But she wasn't thinking about that. No. Her mind was miles away from the industrial kitchen of the Grand Bistro, London's most exclusive gastronomic temple. Think of me when you suffer, when you cry. Think of me too. Its velvety, deep voice caressed each note of the old bolero as she held a crystal glass up to the light, inspecting it. The kitchen door swung open unnoticed by her. A tall man with a sharp jawline and glacial eyes paused under the frame. Sebastian Blackwood, owner and executive chef of the Grand Bistro, watched the woman singing as if she were in an empty theater. How long had that woman been working in his restaurant? And, more importantly, how had he not noticed that voice before? Eleanor turned the glass between her fingers. The crystal caught a ray of light, creating an impossible flash, a tiny rainbow that danced across the stainless steel walls. Just as her voice reached the highest note of the chorus, the glass slipped. Time froze. Her large, expressive eyes followed the crystal's trajectory in slow motion. Sebastian moved instinctively, but he knew it was too late. The crash was brief and sharp. Eleanor squeezed her eyes shut, as if that could make the mess disappear. When she opened them, she didn't find glass fragments, but impeccable Italian shoes inches from her worn sneakers. "You're lucky it was a commercial line glass, Miss Eleanor Reed, chef," she swallowed. "Evening shift dishwashing. I am so incredibly sorry, Her words died when she finally dared to look up. Sebastian Blackwood was not just a man in a uniform she had never seen in person. He was a presence, a gravitational force that altered the space around him. "Do you always sing while you work, Miss Reed?" The question sounded more like an accusation than curiosity. Eleanor bit her lower lip, a gesture not lost on Sebastian. "Only when no one's listening, chef." Her answer held a spark of defiance that surprised them both. Sebastian's lips curved almost imperceptibly, for someone listened today. Through the swinging doors, the controlled chaos of the main dining room filtered in as animated conversations, discreet laughter, and the constant clinking of cutlery on porcelain. The Grand Bistro was full, as it had been every night since its opening 3 years ago. "Sebastian, darling!" A feminine voice, sweet, but with an unmistakable edge, cut through the strange tension between them. "We're waiting for you for the toast." Regina Hayes, in her designer dress and jewelry that captured all the room's light, appeared next to Sebastian. Her eyes, calculating and cold, scanned Eleanor from head to toe in less than a second. "Am I interrupting something?" Her smile was perfect, her teeth as white as the restaurant's most expensive tablecloth. "I was just reminding our staff of the importance of silence in the kitchen." Sebastian adopted a professional tone that contrasted with the intensity of his gaze moments before. "Of course, my love. Discipline is fundamental." Regina linked her arm with Sebastian's and cast one last glance at Eleanor. "And you are?" "No one important." Eleanor smiled with a humility she didn't feel. "Just the one who cleans what others dirty." Regina laughed, a crystalline but hollow sound. "How quaint." She turned to Sebastian. "Dad is impatient to discuss the expansion. He says he has buyers interested in franchising the concept in Paris and Rome." Sebastian's face tightened. "My restaurant is not a concept that can be replicated, Regina. We've already discussed this." Discussed, yes? Resolved, no? Regina cast a meaningful glance at Eleanor. But this is no place to talk business, is it? Eleanor nodded and stepped back, bumping into the sink and splashing water on her uniform. Excuse me. Sebastian watched her walk away, noting the way her shoulders straightened as she distanced herself from them. There was something about that woman, something that didn't fit the subservient attitude he expected from his employees. Sebastian, look at me when I'm talking to you. Regina placed a hand on his cheek, forcing him to face her. Have you tried the new wine selection? The sommelier says the valley's vintage is exceptional this year. The Valley of Eden? Sebastian frowned. I specifically asked for wines from the Ancient Root Vineyard. Their Tempranillo is unsurpassed. Ancient Root went bankrupt years ago, darling. You know that better than anyone. It didn't go bankrupt. Sebastian clenched his jaw. It was absorbed, and the taste was never the same. The main dining room of the Grand Bistro was a study in minimalist opulence. Immaculate white walls served as a canvas for the food to be the true protagonist. Sebastian's dishes, complex but respectful of the ingredients, had put London back on the global gastronomic map. From her corner in the kitchen, Eleanor heard snippets of the celebration. Regina's father, Lord Alistair Hayes, toasted the future gastronomic empire of the Blackwood Hayes Group. His voice, amplified by the microphone, reached her like an omen. As she dried the last silver tray, the assistant chef approached with a nervous expression. Eleanor, Chef Blackwood wants to see you in his office, right now. The entire kitchen froze, 20 pairs of eyes fixed on her, some with sympathy, most with cruel curiosity. What for? Her voice sounded sharper than she intended. The assistant shrugged. He said something about a professional proposal. He lowered his voice. I've never seen him look at anyone like that, Eleanor. What did you do? Eleanor swallowed as she dried her hands on her apron. Just sing, she replied in a strained whisper. Just sing. What do you think Sebastian will offer Eleanor? Will she accept, or will her pride get in the way? Share your predictions below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next thrilling chapter, A Proposition and a Promise. Sebastian's office was a brutal contrast to the agitation of the kitchen. Minimalist, almost monastic, with a single window framing the night lights of London like fallen stars. Eleanor stopped at the threshold, her heart pounding against her ribs like a caged animal. The dismissal letter was already signed in her imagination. Come in and close the door, please. Sebastian's voice floated from across a dark wooden desk. Eleanor obeyed, noticing the treacherous tremor in her hands. The room smelled of wood, leather, and something indefinable, that personal scent Sebastian carried, a mix of spices, freshly ground coffee, and something citrusy. I'll save you time, chef. Eleanor took a deep breath and plunged in. If this is about the broken glass, I'll pay for it out of my salary. If it's about singing during work, it won't happen again. And if it's because your girlfriend felt offended, well, do you always interrupt your superior before they can speak? Sebastian raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. Only when I'm nervous, and when I know I'm about to be fired. A spark of amusement crossed the chef's eyes. Who mentioned anything about firing? Eleanor blinked, confused. Then, you're not going to fire me? I have 340 restaurants applying to work with us every week. Sebastian crossed his hands on the desk. Why would I waste my time personally firing a dishwasher? Heat rushed up Eleanor's neck, coloring her cheeks. How encouraging. Thank you for the vote of confidence. Her combative tone returned as a defensive reflex. Sebastian leaned back in his chair, studying her with new interest. I heard you sing. The statement hung between them, simple and impactful. And I broke a glass. I haven't forgotten. The glass doesn't matter. Sebastian stood and walked around the desk, approaching dangerously. Your voice has something Something that makes people want to hear more. Eleanor instinctively backed away. I don't understand where you're going with this. Tomorrow we have a private event. 50 people, politicians, businessmen, food critics, people who can change the future of the restaurant. And what does that have to do with me? I need a hostess with charisma, someone who makes guests feel special. Sebastian circled around her like a predator evaluating its prey. And I think you could be that person. Eleanor let out a nervous laugh. Me? Serving drinks to people who spend what I make in 6 months on one dinner? No offense, chef, but I think you're confusing nerves with charisma. Sebastian stopped in front of her, so close that Eleanor could distinguish the different shades of blue in his eyes. I don't confuse anything, Miss Reed. I have a gift for recognizing raw potential. His gaze briefly dropped to her lips, in ingredients and in people. The air between them thickened. Eleanor felt every inch of her skin come alive, hypersensitive to the proximity of that man. Why me? There are more experienced waitstaff, more predictable. Sebastian completed her sentence. I'm not looking for predictability. I'm looking for authenticity, something that's been lost in this restaurant lately. Eleanor narrowed her eyes. Are you using me for some game I don't understand? The question seemed to genuinely surprise him. What would I gain from that? I don't know. You're the strategist here. A smile, the first genuine one, transformed Sebastian's face. He suddenly looked younger, more human. Accept, and tomorrow you'll earn the equivalent of 2 months of your current salary. Refuse, and you'll continue washing dishes, no retaliation. Eleanor studied his face, looking for signs of deceit. Is there a catch? None. You just have to be yourself, in an appropriate dress, of course. Sebastian returned to his desk and pulled out a black card. My assistant will take you shopping tomorrow morning. What if I fail? Then we'll both learn something. Sebastian extended the card. Deal. Eleanor looked at the card as if it were a venomous snake. Finally, she took it. Deal. But if this is some kind of cruel joke, I warn you I know exactly which are your favorite glasses to strategically break them. Sebastian let out a brief laugh. That would be a sight to behold. The tension was broken by the sound of the door opening without warning. Regina entered, as if the space belonged to her, her smile freezing when she saw Eleanor. Oh, am I interrupting again? How careless of me. You're not interrupting anything, Regina. Miss Reed will be our special hostess for tomorrow's event. Regina's eyes narrowed dangerously. The dishwasher. Her laugh was a whip of ice. It's a joke, isn't it? We have the best public relations in London at our disposal, and you choose this. Eleanor clenched her fists. This person is present and can hear you perfectly, and she speaks fascinatingly. Regina turned to Sebastian. If this is one of your artistic tantrums, choose a better time. My father brought the French ambassador specifically to meet you. Sebastian sighed, his professional mask returning to its place. I'll be there in a moment. He looked at Eleanor. Tomorrow, 8 in the morning, at the service entrance. My assistant will be waiting for you. Eleanor nodded and headed for the door, feeling Regina's furious gaze on her back. Before leaving, Sebastian's voice reached her. And, Miss Reed, bring your voice. Once in the hallway, Eleanor breathed for the first time in what felt like hours. What mess had she gotten herself into? In the office, Regina wasted no time. What are you playing at, Sebastian? You know how important this event is for the expansion, and you decide to experiment with the cleaning staff. It's my restaurant, my decision. Sebastian walked around the desk. And she has something special. Regina approached sinuously. You're right. Her tone changed, sweetening as her hands moved up Sebastian's chest. It's your restaurant, and soon it will be our empire. Sebastian looked at her without responding. Regina smiled, and, rising on the tips of her designer heels, kissed him softly. "I have a surprise for you," she whispered against his lips. "Tonight, during the main toast, I'm going to announce our engagement." Sebastian's eyes widened in surprise. "What? We haven't discussed—" "We don't need to discuss the inevitable, darling." Regina caressed his cheek. "I already have the ring. My father is delighted. And you—" Your smile turned predatory. "You need this marriage as much as this restaurant needs my father to survive." How do you think Eleanor will react to the news of Sebastian's engagement? Will this push her to reveal what she knows about Regina's father? Share your predictions below. The grand betrayal unveiled. The black dress hugged Eleanor Reed's silhouette like a second shadow. Elegant, but understated. Exactly what Sebastian's assistant had insisted she needed to blend in without standing out too much. An impossible task when all the employees of the Grand Bistro looked at her like a failed experiment as she crossed the main dining room towards the private salon where the event was to be held. "Look at her, the scullery maid Cinderella," a waiter whispered loud enough for her to hear. "How long do you think her private audition with the chef lasted?" Eleanor dug her heels into the floor and spun on her heel. The comment died on the waiter's lips as she approached, a dangerous smile spreading across her face. "Long enough to get promoted, and you didn't," she winked. "Must be my innate talent for handling fine glassware." She walked away, leaving the group gaping. Her outward bravery contrasted with the hurricane of doubts consuming her inside. What on earth was she doing there? She didn't even know how to properly hold a tray of canapés, much less how to entertain London's elite. "I see the dress fits you perfectly." Sebastian's voice emerged from behind her. Eleanor turned, encountering a transformed man. The white uniform had given way to a black suit that seemed designed molecule by molecule for his body. The effect was devastating. "This?" Eleanor pointed to her attire, feigning indifference. "It's just expensive fabric. Nothing to do with the wearer." Sebastian advanced, closing the distance between them. "On the contrary, Miss Reed, the fabric only enhances what already exists." His eyes swept over her figure with professional appreciation. "Just like a good wine enhances the flavors of an exceptional dish." "Now I'm a dish?" Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "What a gastronomic metaphor." The corner of his lips lifted slightly. "It's the only way I have to express myself." Sebastian looked at his watch. "Guests will arrive in 20 minutes. Are you ready?" "No." The honesty escaped before she could filter it. "I have no idea what I'm supposed to do." To her surprise, Sebastian seemed to appreciate her sincerity. "Be yourself. Talk to the guests. Make them feel welcome." He took a glass of champagne from a nearby tray and offered it to her. "And perhaps, if it comes naturally, sing for them during dessert." Eleanor's fingers brushed his as she took the glass. An electric jolt ran up her arm, coloring her cheeks. "I can't sing in front of those people. I'm a dishwasher, not an artist." "And who decides that?" Sebastian leaned in, whispering as if sharing a secret. "Them? Me? Or you?" The intimate moment was broken by the arrival of the first guests. Regina entered arm in arm with her father, Lord Alastair Hayes, a man whose smile didn't reach his calculating eyes. By their side, a man in his 60s with an aristocratic bearing observed the room with clinical interest. "The French ambassador," Sebastian murmured. "And my future father-in-law, apparently." Eleanor detected the bitter tone in his voice. "You don't seem very enthusiastic about the idea of marriage." "Marriages in my circle rarely have anything to do with enthusiasm." Sebastian composed his face into a mask of the perfect host. "They're strategic mergers, like flavors in a gourmet dish. Is everything in your life about food, chef?" Eleanor couldn't resist the question. Sebastian looked at her for an instant, something vulnerable crossing his blue eyes. Everything that matters, yes. The event unfolded like a perfectly rehearsed choreography. Sebastian dazzled guests with passionate explanations of each dish, while Regina played the perfect hostess. Eleanor moved among the tables, surprising herself with her ability to strike up genuine conversations. There was only one problem. No one paid her any real attention. In this world, she was invisible, until the French ambassador stopped her, grabbing her wrist as she served him a glass of wine. "Your face seems familiar to me." His cognac-laced breath hit her face. "Do we know each other, mademoiselle?" Eleanor tried to discreetly free her arm. The man didn't let go. "Perhaps it was in Paris. I have an infallible eye for exotic beauties." His thumb caressed her inner wrist. "Perhaps you could refresh my memory later, in private." Eleanor's stomach churned. Before she could respond, a firm hand landed on the ambassador's. "I believe Miss Reed is occupied, Jacques." Sebastian appeared beside her, his voice cordial, but with a steel edge. "And I must steal her for a moment for the dessert presentation." The ambassador reluctantly released his grip, but his eyes promised the matter wasn't closed. Sebastian guided Eleanor towards the kitchen, his hand burning on her lower back. "Are you all right?" The formality dropped for the first time, revealing genuine concern. "Perfectly." Eleanor straightened her shoulders. "It's not the first time a man has mistaken professional courtesy for an invitation. I should throw him out right now. And ruin your big night?" Eleanor shook her head. "I don't need your pity, chef. I'm not a damsel in distress." "It's not pity." Sebastian clenched his jaw. "It's respect." Something in his tone made Eleanor truly look at him. Beneath the mask of the perfect calculating chef was something more. Something vulnerable and authentic that connected with her in an inexplicable way. The moment broke when Regina appeared, her face a mask of concern that didn't reach her eyes. "Here you are, Sebastian. Everyone's waiting for the toast." Her gaze shifted to Eleanor. "Am I interrupting something important?" "Nothing that can't wait." Sebastian recovered his professional posture. "Let's go." Eleanor followed them at a safe distance. Upon entering the salon, she noticed that all glasses were full and the guests expectant. Regina took a glass and delicately tapped it to get attention. "Dear friends, thank you for joining us on this special night." Her smile shone almost as brightly as the new ring on her finger. "As many of you know, Sebastian and I have been building together, not just a restaurant, but a shared dream." Eleanor felt a knot in her stomach, anticipating what was coming. She picked up a tray with glasses, needing to occupy her hands with something. "And today," Regina continued, "I am pleased to announce that dream takes another step towards the future. Sebastian and I are officially engaged." Applause erupted as Sebastian forced a smile. His eyes, as if magnetized, found Eleanor's in the crowd. Time froze between them, just for an instant. The tray in Eleanor's hands tilted. 1, 2, 3 glasses crashed to the floor, staining Regina's dress with red wine. A collective gasp rippled through the room. "Look what you've done, you stupid girl!" Regina shrieked, pointing at the crimson stain spreading across her white dress. Eleanor froze, aware of all eyes on her. I'm sorry, it was an accident." "An accident?" Regina approached, spitting venom. "Like you're hiring? Sebastian, I demand you fire her right now." Before Sebastian could respond, Eleanor put down the tray and took off her heels. "No need." Her voice was firm despite the trembling in her hands. "I quit." As she walked towards the door, her eyes caught something fallen next to the service table. An old receipt, half soaked in wine. She picked it up instinctively. What do you think is the significance of the old receipt Eleanor found? How will this discovery impact her understanding of Sebastian and Regina's family? Share your predictions below. The roots of betrayal. Already in the back alley of the restaurant, with the cold night air drying the tears she refused to shed. Eleanor Reed unfolded the damp paper. It was a purchase receipt, dated 15 years prior. Her heart stopped as she read the supplier's name. Ancient Root Vineyards. Proprietor, Maria Hayes. Her mother. The night bus advanced through deserted avenues as Eleanor stared fixedly at the crumpled receipt. The names danced before her eyes like ghosts. Ancient Root and Maria Hayes. A past she didn't know, inexplicably connected to the restaurant she had just abandoned. Her mother's modest house, in a working-class neighborhood of London, slept under the starry blanket when Eleanor arrived. Without bothering to turn on any lights, she went to the small study where she knew she would find Maria Hayes, grading her high school students' papers. "Mom?" Her voice broke the silence. Maria Hayes looked up, her reading glasses slipping down her nose. Her eyes, identical to Eleanor's, widened at the sight of her daughter's state. "Eleanor? What are you doing here so late? And that dress?" Eleanor spread the damp receipt over her mother's papers. "What is this?" Maria Hayes paled. Her fingers, marked by decades of hard work, trembled as she took the paper. "Where did you find it?" "At the restaurant where I work. Or worked, until 2 hours ago." Eleanor sank into a chair. "You owned Ancient Root, the vineyards that supplied the city's most exclusive restaurant." A deep sigh escaped Maria Hayes's lips. "Co-owner, with your father, before we separated." The pieces began to fall into place in Eleanor's mind. "The Tempranillo," she murmured, remembering the conversation between Sebastian and Regina. "Blackwood says the taste was never the same after the vineyard was absorbed. What really happened?" Maria Hayes took off her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. "We were cheated, Eleanor. We were young, idealistic, with a small vineyard that was starting to gain recognition for a traditional cultivation method I rescued from my grandmother." A nostalgic smile crossed her face. Ancient Root's Tempranillo began winning awards. Luxury restaurants demanded it. And then, Hayes Imports got interested. Lord Alistair Hayes offered to turn our artisanal operation into something international. Her eyes darkened. We signed without reading the fine print. When we tried to maintain our traditional methods, we discovered we no longer had control. We had been bought without being bought. Eleanor felt breathless. Hayes? Regina's father? Himself. Maria Hayes nodded. When we protested, he showed us clauses we had never seen. He forced us to sell for a fraction of the real value. Your father couldn't bear it. He went to America and never came back. I stayed, got a job as a teacher, and raised you alone. Silence weighed between them like lead. Why did you never tell me? Why? So you'd grow up with resentment? Maria Hayes took her daughter's hands. I preferred to teach you to sing, to enjoy the little things, to be happy despite everything. Eleanor closed her eyes, absorbing every word. Her mother always singing among pots and pans, teaching her old boleros as they cooked together. They had never had much, but they never lacked joy. Do you think Blackwood knows? She finally asked. I doubt it. He was just a gastronomy student when it happened. Maria Hayes frowned, but he was always a fan of our wine. He used to say he could distinguish it in a blind tasting. Eleanor shivered, remembering Sebastian's words about the taste that was never the same. I have to tell him. Why? Maria Hayes looked at her, surprised. It's all water under the bridge, daughter. Because he values authenticity, and because his fiancé's father is the one who stole that legacy. Eleanor clenched her fists. He has a right to know. Do you think Sebastian will believe Eleanor's story? Or will he side with Regina and her father? How will this revelation impact the fate of the Grand Bistro? Share your predictions in the comments below. The morning arrived with iron resolution. dressed in simple clothes, and with the original recipe for her grandmother's winemaking process in her pocket. Eleanor Reed presented herself at the corporate offices of Hayes Imports. "I need to see Lord Alistair Hayes," she declared at reception, with a confidence she didn't feel. "Do you have an appointment?" The receptionist looked at her over her glasses. "Tell him I'm Maria Hayes, from Ancient Root." Eleanor used her mother's name like a key. It worked like black magic. 10 minutes later, she was sitting across from Lord Alistair Hayes in an office that screamed power and money. "Miss Reed." His smile was a knife wrapped in silk. "What an unexpected surprise. I am Eleanor's daughter, Maria Hayes." Recognition gleamed in his eyes. "Ah, the frustrated singer. Regina told me about your little performance last night." Eleanor ignored the provocation. "I'm here to talk about Ancient Root, a closed business from 15 years ago." Lord Hayes intertwined his fingers. "What could you possibly have to discuss with me?" "My mother's legitimate right to the original Tempranillo recipe." Eleanor pulled out the documents. "And her right to be recognized as the creator." A chilling laugh filled the office. "Your mother sold all the rights. Legally. After you altered the contract." Eleanor leaned forward. "We have proof." For the first time, Lord Hayes looked genuinely concerned. "What exactly do you want?" "Recognition. Royalties for the use of the original recipe. Absurd." Lord Hayes stood, ending the meeting. "You'll get nothing. Then I'll tell Sebastian Blackwood everything." Eleanor also stood, "Including how your daughter knew all this, and hid it from him." A muscle jumped in Lord Hayes's jaw. "I suggest you reconsider that threat, Miss Reed. My daughter is about to marry Blackwood, a union that benefits everyone except Sebastian, who values authenticity above all else." The office door burst open. Regina entered like a tropical storm, beautiful and devastating in her designer dress. "Dad, the sommelier is waiting for the tasting of the—" She stopped when she saw Eleanor. "You? What is this woman doing here?" "Discussing family business, darling." Lord Hayes regained his composure. "Miss Reed believes she has rights to Ancient Root." Regina's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Reed? From the Reeds of the Vineyards? My mother was the creator of the original Tempranillo recipe that your fiancé adores so much." Eleanor held her gaze. "The wine he says never tasted the same after you absorbed them." Regina momentarily paled before recovering her mask of calm. A fascinating story. Her smile was glacial. Too bad no one will believe it. Eleanor headed for the door. "Sebastian will decide that." Regina followed her into the hallway, grabbing her arm with surprising force. "Listen to me closely. If you ruin this merger, I will destroy you." Her voice was a poisonous hiss. "Do you think an arrogant chef will choose a dishwasher over the empire I'm offering him?" Eleanor pulled free from her grip. "It's not about choosing me. It's about truth." As the elevator doors closed, she saw Sebastian emerging from the tasting room at the end of the hallway, his face transforming into confusion as he saw her there. Their gazes met for a fleeting instant before the metal doors separated them. The last thing Eleanor saw was Regina's calculating expression, watching her as if planning a perfect murder. "What do you think Sebastian will do when he learns the full truth about Regina's family? Will he sacrifice his restaurant for the sake of authenticity and Eleanor? Share your predictions below." The chef's choice. The fire from the Grand Bistro's industrial ovens couldn't compare to the intensity burning in Sebastian Blackwood's eyes as he crossed the kitchen like a contained tornado. Cooks instinctively moved out of his way, recognizing the signs of an impending storm. "Where is she?" His voice cut through the air like a sharp knife. The sous chef swallowed before answering. "Who, chef?" "Reed. Eleanor Reed." An awkward silence filled the space. Finally, someone murmured, "She hasn't been back since last night, chef, after what happened at the event." Sebastian slammed his open palm onto the stainless steel counter, making the perfectly aligned knives jump. No one knows where to find her. I have her address. A timid voice emerged from the dishwashing corner. Marcella, another dishwasher, stepped forward. We're neighbors. 20 minutes later, Sebastian's Maserati screeched to a halt in front of a modest apartment building in a working-class neighborhood. Ignoring the curious glances of the neighbors, he climbed the 3 flights of stairs. The elevator had been out of service for years, Marcella had explained. He rapped on the door of 3C with more force than necessary. Eleanor Reed, I know you're in there. Open the door. Silence. Please, I need to talk to you. The click of the bolt preceded Eleanor's appearance, her hair carelessly pulled back, dressed in simple clothes that, inexplicably, made her look more authentic than ever. What do you want? Her tone was sharp, like a piece of broken porcelain. Did you see something surprising today? Something that doesn't fit into your perfect planned life? Sebastian studied her, his brain processing multiple emotions simultaneously. Confusion, rage, and more disturbingly, an attraction that grew with each encounter. What were you doing at Hayes Imports? Eleanor let out a humorless laugh. Straight to the point, huh? She stepped aside to let him in. Come in. This conversation isn't for a hallway. The apartment was small but bright. Abundant plants decorated every available surface. Old books rested on makeshift shelves. A worn, upright piano occupied the main corner, covered in sheet music. Do you play? The question escaped before he could contain it. My mother taught me. Eleanor crossed her arms. But you haven't come to talk about music, have you? Sebastian pulled a folded paper from his inner jacket pocket. He spread it on the table. It was an old photograph. 2 smiling young people among vineyards, holding a bottle with the ancient root label. My mentor gave me this photo when I opened the Grand Bistro. He said these were the creators of the best Tempranillo he had ever tasted. His eyes fixed on her. The woman looks a lot like you. Eleanor took the photograph with trembling fingers. It's my mother and my father. Her voice broke slightly. Before your future father-in-law stole everything from them. She told him the whole story. Every word was a stab to Sebastian's perfectly controlled world. When she finished, the silence between them weighed like lead. Why didn't you tell me last night instead of quitting? Would you have believed me? Eleanor challenged him with her gaze. The dishwasher accusing your fiancé's father of fraud. Sounds like a cheap soap opera. Sebastian ran a hand through his hair, disheveling it in a gesture of frustration. I don't know what to believe anymore. The wine changed, it's undeniable. But what you're suggesting would mean that the entire expansion, the whole merger Alfonso is proposing, is built on a lie. On thefts from small producers like my parents, Eleanor completed. I need proof. You have it in front of you. Eleanor pounded the table. Or do you need more than my word? I'm not going to beg anyone for what's mine by right. The fury in her eyes awakened something primitive in Sebastian, an urge to protect, to connect, that he had never felt with Regina. Give me time. I'll investigate this thoroughly. There's no time. Eleanor pointed to her phone, where a notification flickered. Tonight is the big official announcement of the merger. Regina and her father are going public with everything at the gala dinner. Sebastian's face hardened. A dinner I wasn't consulted about. Welcome to my world. Eleanor smiled without joy. Where others decide your fate without even asking you. Something changed in Sebastian's expression. A new resolve gleamed in his eyes. He stood abruptly. Come with me. What? Where? To the dinner. Tonight. Eleanor looked at him as if he had lost his mind. Have you gone crazy? Regina will skin me alive. Not if you enter as my special guest. Sebastian extended his hand. It's time for the truth to come out. All of it. Their fingers brushed, sending an electric shock between them. For an instant, the outside world disappeared. What will be the final outcome of this dramatic confrontation? Will Sebastian and Eleanor expose Regina and her father? And what will they lose or gain in the process? Share your predictions below. The taste of truth. The gala dinner transformed the Grand Bistro into a mirage of golden lights and shimmering crystals. London's elite circulated among impeccable waiters, oblivious to the drama about to erupt. Regina Hayes, resplendent in a blood-red gown, directed everyone like an orchestra conductor. Her surprise at seeing Sebastian enter with Eleanor on his arm was briefly visible before her social mask returned to its place. "Darling, I didn't know you were bringing company." Her smile didn't reach her eyes, much less to her. "Eleanor has every right to be here," Sebastian maintained his professional tone, "considering we're celebrating her family's legacy." Color drained from Regina's face. Lord Alastair Hayes materialized beside them, his smile as false as the plastic flowers decorating the central cake. "Blackwood, I see you've brought an unexpected guest." "A very necessary guest." Sebastian remained firm. "In fact, I believe everyone should know her story." Regina exchanged a panicked look with her father. Lord Hayes reacted quickly, stepping onto the small stage and taking the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to officially announce the merger of the Grand Bistro with the International Hayes Gourmet Group." Applause briefly interrupted him. "This union, like that of my daughter with the brilliant chef Sebastian Blackwood, marks the beginning of a new gastronomic era." Eleanor felt Sebastian tense beside her. Their eyes met, a silent conversation flowing between them. He nodded imperceptibly, as if answering an unasked question. When Lord Hayes invited Sebastian to join him on stage, the chef advanced with a determined stride. He took the microphone with studied elegance. The expectant silence was broken by his firm voice. "I thank you all for your presence tonight, but I must make an important clarification." He paused dramatically. "I no longer cook for you." His gaze found Eleanor in the crowd. "I cook for her." The stunned silence that followed was merely the prelude to the storm about to break. Chaos erupted in the hall, like oil in boiling water. Muffled exclamations, scandalized murmurs, and the harsh clinking of glasses being abruptly set down on tables formed a discordant symphony. Regina, petrified in place, looked like an ice statue about to shatter. Lord Alastair Hayes, in contrast, maintained a frozen smile as his eyes calculated damages and strategies. "Sebastian is joking, of course." Regina regained her voice, forcing a laugh that sounded like cracking glass. "The stress of the expansion has him inspired." But no one was listening to her. All eyes converged on Sebastian, who had descended from the stage and advanced toward Eleanor with iron determination. "What are you doing?" she whispered when he took her hand. "What I should have done since I first heard you sing." His fingers intertwined with hers. "Being authentic. This will cost you everything." Eleanor looked around, aware of the phones already capturing the moment. "What will cost me everything is continuing to lie to myself." Sebastian faced the attendees. "I owe you an explanation. This restaurant, what we serve here, has always been based on one principle: honoring the roots of every ingredient. But I have discovered that the foundation of everything I believed, the wine I considered an emblem of our menu, has a hidden history." Lord Hayes advanced, trying to regain control. "Blackwood, this is no time for—" "It's exactly the time." Sebastian interrupted him. "Did you know that the famous Tempranillo from ancient root, the one you've all praised at our tables, was created by this woman's parents?" He pointed to Eleanor. "And that they were dispossessed of their creation through manipulated contracts?" The public held its breath. Regina lunged for the microphone. "Dear guests, please excuse this unforeseen situation." Her voice trembled slightly. "I suggest you continue with the celebration while we resolve this family misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding." Eleanor stepped forward, her voice clear and firm. "My mother, Maria Hayes, developed the fermentation method that made that wine unique. I have the original recipes, the notebooks, the proofs." A murmur rippled through the room. Among the guests, a stern-looking man with a notepad leaned forward with evident interest. Augustus Price, the country's most influential food critic. Sebastian recognized him immediately. The man nodded, studying them with an analytical gaze. "Fascinating story, but I'm a man who believes in tangible proof." Price stood. "Specifically, in taste. If what you say is true, prove it on a plate." Now, the challenge hung in the air. Lord Hayes smiled triumphantly. "Impossible. Our current wines are the only Dantale ones available." "Not necessarily." Eleanor looked at Sebastian. "My mother kept some bottles from the original vintages and maintains a small, almost secret vineyard where she grows grapes using the traditional method for family consumption." Sebastian's eyes lit up. "Can you get that wine? Now. I'd need to call her and—" "Do it!" Sebastian was already heading for the kitchen. "I have an idea." While Eleanor made the call, the salon buzzed with speculation. Regina tried to control the damage, but the guests were too intrigued by the dramatic turn of events. 30 minutes later, Maria Hayes entered the Grand Bistro, carrying a worn wooden box. Her shy demeanor contrasted with the natural dignity she exuded. Behind her, 2 elderly villagers from the family's hometown carried baskets of fresh ingredients. "My mother and her helpers," Eleanor introduced them to Sebastian. They brought everything for the traditional stuffing. In the kitchen, an expectant silence reigned. The cooks watched their chef and the woman who, until recently, had washed dishes, exchange complicit glances. "What are we going to prepare?" a nervous sous chef asked. "Reinvented chiles en nogada." Sebastian rolled up his sleeves. "With the original Hayes family recipe and a reduction of the authentic Tempranillo." The kitchen transformed into a culinary alchemy workshop. Sebastian and Eleanor moved in perfect synchronicity, as if they had been cooking together for years. She sang softly as she chopped. He smiled when her melodies matched the rhythm of his knives. Maria Hayes watched the scene with wet eyes, recognizing something special blooming between them. "I've never seen him like this," the sous chef murmured to another cook. "He seems happy." As the aroma of spices, fruits, and wine filled the air, something shifted in the kitchen's atmosphere. A contagious joy, a creative freedom that had been absent for too long. Sebastian approached Eleanor as she finished the sauce, their bodies brushing inevitably in the narrow space. "Do you always sing when you cook?" he whispered, so close she felt his breath on her neck. "Only when I'm nervous, or very happy." Eleanor turned, placing them inches from his face. "Right now, I couldn't tell you which of the two." Their gazes intertwined, like perfectly complementary ingredients. The world around them disappeared. "I think I hadn't truly cooked until now either." Sebastian brushed a lock of hair that had fallen onto her forehead. "Everything had been technique. It lacked soul," Eleanor completed, understanding perfectly. "Exactly." His fingers caressed her cheek in a gesture as natural as it was unexpected. "You were missing." Time stopped. Their lips met in a kiss that tasted of promises and new beginnings. A kiss that sealed something they had both felt since that first encounter among dishes and boleros. The kitchen door burst open violently. "The critic is waiting!" Regina appeared, her face contorted with fury, witnessing the intimate scene. "I see you found comfort quickly, darling." Sebastian separated from Eleanor, but kept her hand firmly clasped. "It's not comfort, Regina. It's clarity. Enjoy it while you can." Regina smiled maliciously. Dad just spoke with the lawyers. It turns out the financing contract says that if you break the engagement, you lose the restaurant. The entire kitchen held its breath. Eleanor instinctively let go of Sebastian's hand. I won't let you lose everything because of me. Sebastian looked at the dish they had just created together. Perfect, honest, authentic. I've already lost too much trying to please others. He took the dish with determination. This is the only thing that matters now. As he walked out with the creation towards the dining room where the critic awaited, Regina blocked Eleanor at the door. This isn't over. Her voice was barely a poisonous whisper. My father has made more important documents disappear than your little family recipes. Eleanor looked her directly in the eyes, without a trace of fear. That remains to be seen. She pointed towards Maria Hayes, who held up some yellowed papers. Because we found the original contracts. All of them. What do you think the final outcome of this dramatic confrontation will be? Will Sebastian and Eleanor expose Regina and her father? And what will they lose or gain in the process? Share your predictions below. A new recipe for life. The morning flooded the grand bistro with a golden light that transformed the ordinary into the magical. Chairs, still scattered after the chaos of the previous night, cast long shadows on the marble floor. In the kitchen, an army of journalists and cameras crowded around the main station. The smell of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the palpable tension in the air. Eleanor nervously adjusted the collar of her new uniform. Not a dishwasher's, but one identical to those worn by the restaurant's chefs. By her side, Maria Hayes held the original documents as if they were an invaluable treasure. Are you sure about this? She asked her daughter. Completely. Eleanor smiled. It's time for the truth to come out. All of it. Sebastian entered through the back door, impeccable despite not having slept. His face showed the serenity of someone who finally finds their way. Seeing Eleanor in the uniform, something gleamed in his eyes. It suits you. He lightly brushed her hand. I always knew. Good morning, Chef Blackwood. Augustus Price's husky voice interrupted the intimate moment. Your story and your dish kept me awake all night. A curious effect, I'd say. The critic, accompanied by a public notary and a lawyer, took a seat at a makeshift table in the middle of the kitchen. Last night was just the appetizer. Today, we present the main course. Sebastian looked towards the door, where Lord Alastair and Regina Hayes entered, escorted by their own lawyers. Silence descended upon the kitchen, as everyone took their places. Regina, visibly tense but still elegant, scrutinized every movement like a predator seeking weaknesses. Lord Hayes, on the contrary, maintained a facade of bored superiority. Let's begin. Price activated his recorder. Last night, we witnessed serious accusations regarding the origin of ancient roots tempranillo, and we tasted a dish that, I must admit, awakened flavors I thought lost. Today, I want to hear the whole story, with proof. Maria Hayes spread the documents on the table. These are the original contracts, dated 15 years ago. Her voice, normally soft, resonated with unexpected authority. And these are the altered contracts that Mr. Hayes later presented to us. The notary examined the papers, while the lawyer pointed out discrepancies. Lord Hayes maintained his condescending smile until the lawyer pointed to a signature. This signature is falsified. I can confirm it with an immediate handwriting analysis. Lord Hayes's smile faltered for the first time. Absurd. These are unfounded accusations from a family resentful of their own business failures. Failures? Eleanor took a step forward. Allow me to prove it with facts, not words. Sebastian nodded, turning on the stoves. The culinary demonstration began like a synchronized ballet. Eleanor and Sebastian prepared parallel versions of the same dish. One with the original Hayes family wine, the other with Hayes Imports' currant wine. The key to the original Tempranillo, Maria Hayes explained while her daughter cooked, was in the slow fermentation process and the precise blend of grapes from different altitudes of the valley. Knowledge passed down through generations of women in my family. Sebastian completed the narrative as his hands flew among ingredients. When I first tasted this wine as a student, I knew there was something unrepeatable about it. After the absorption by Hayes, it was never the same. Now I understand why. Journalists frantically took notes. Cameras captured every expression, every reaction. Regina, from her seat, glared at Eleanor with a look that could melt ice. "This is theater, not evidence." Lord Hayes stood up indignantly. "And even if these documents were questionable, the restaurant's financing contract is unassailable. If Blackwood breaks the engagement with my daughter, he loses everything." A murmur rippled through the kitchen. Eleanor looked at Sebastian, worry evident on her face. Sebastian, however, smiled calmly as he served the finished dishes. "You're right about that, Alistair. I would lose the Grand Bistro." He placed both creations in front of the critic. "But I would gain something much more valuable." Price tasted the dish prepared with Hayes's wine first. He nodded appreciatively. Then he sampled the creation with the original Mendoza wine. His expression said it all. He closed his eyes, savoring slowly. "Extraordinary, like comparing a photograph to reality." The critic looked directly at the cameras. "Ladies and gentlemen, what we are witnessing is more than a family or business dispute. It is the rediscovery of a culinary legacy." Lord Hayes stood furious. "This changes nothing. The contract is clear. No wedding, no restaurant." "True." Sebastian advanced to the center of the kitchen. "That's why I'm not keeping the Grand Bistro." A collective gasp went through the audience. "I'm going to start over, with a different concept, one that honors the true roots of our gastronomy." He looked at Eleanor. "And I'd like to do it in partnership with the Hayes family." Maria Hayes put a hand to her chest, moved. Eleanor remained motionless, processing his words. "What exactly does this mean?" asked Price, anticipating the perfect headline. "It means the star chef Sebastian Blackwood is resigning from the prestigious Grand Bistro to start a project with the dishwasher." Regina couldn't contain her scorn. "Ridiculous. With the legitimate heiress of ancient root and a chef with innate talent," Sebastian corrected, approaching Eleanor. "And with the woman who taught me that cooking without passion is just empty technique." Camera flashes erupted as Sebastian took Eleanor's hands in his. "What do you say? Partners?" Eleanor looked at her mother, who was visibly emotional, then at Regina and Lord Hayes, whose expressions oscillated between disbelief and fury. Finally, her eyes met Sebastian's. They were no longer the cold eyes of the perfectionist chef. They were warm, vulnerable, authentic. "Partners?" she accepted with a radiant smile. "But on one condition." Sebastian raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What is it?" "You let me sing while we cook." Sebastian's laughter, free and genuine, resonated throughout the kitchen. In an impulse, he closed the distance between them. His lips found Eleanor's in a kiss that tasted of promises and new beginnings. And this time, he truly kissed her with hunger. What an exhilarating conclusion. What was your favorite moment in Sebastian and Eleanor's journey to truth and love? Rate this story from 0 to 10 in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories where passion is served as the main course. Until the next literary tasting.